Hi guys, and welcome to another edition of the Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guests, Kelly and Kewaunee Lapseritis. Now Kewaunee is a holistic health consultant, master herbalist, master dowser with a background in anthropology, psychology, conversation, and holistic health. Now, both Kewaunee and his wife Kelly have researched the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomena for many years, and both are Sasquatch and ET contactees. So, Kelly and Kewaunee Lapseritis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it's absolutely my honor to have you guys on as well. And this is going to be a fascinating show all about Sasquatch. And, well, I mean, I've always called it to myself Bigfoot. What is the difference between Bigfoot and the Sasquatch?
Just another name that they pasted on.
Right.
Late 1950s in California, somebody said, well, these are Bigfoot, big feet, and they started calling it Bigfoot. Of course, the name Sasquatch is a Salish Indian word that's been around for centuries.
Right, okay. You know, just today, I just saw some video footage, some 4K video footage of the Patterson footage. What's your take on that footage? And have you seen the 4K, the new 4K footage that's floating around of that?
Yes, and I've asked the Sasquatch probably, 25 years ago if that was real, and they said, yes, that's one of our people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah. Okay.
I'm familiar with the new footage, though. What did they do? Slow down the video, or?
Well, they've, we'll play some of the footage right now, but someone's up-resed it into 4K, but it looks like the original cine reel has been retransferred and re-cleaned up into and put into 4K. See. So it's a bit more detailed.
Oh, good. Okay. We'll have to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, where are you guys located right now?
We're in eastern Washington State.
Yeah.
Close to the Idaho border.
Very close to Canada as well.
Yes. And, it'll be 40 years ago this September that a Sasquatch and an ET telepathically spoke to me at the same time. And I couldn't believe it. I wasn't afraid. And yet I said, I'll never tell anyone because no one will believe me. And here they wanted me to publish a book about it and so on. I have 2 books out now and so forth. So it changed my life. And then I started to document. I'm a social scientist with 4 degrees, and I started to document people who were having these experiences. And now it comes to 447 people that I've documented that claim to have communication with the Psychic Sasquatch. And 3 of them were physicians, 1 was an attorney, 3 were scientists, and 2 were college professors, and then people from all walks of life. So they needed an outlet to discuss this with someone that, would objectively look at it, that understood the problem. And to them, they didn't understand what was going on most of the time. So now we have a conference every year to educate people on this. It has nothing to do with hunting, guns, traps, or any of that crazy stuff. It has to do with an evolved people that I discovered they were evolved and probably 100 times more evolved than we are, even though they're living inside of a giant, hairy, animal-like body in order to survive in raw nature. But they're very super sensitive and very kind, and again, it's changed our lives tremendously.
Absolutely. So is it just an American phenomena?
Oh,
no. No. In Australia, the Yowies are talking to certain people. They'll go to people with a higher vibrational frequency, people who have greater respect for other people and for living things. It somehow changes a person's energy that they're able to read very easily. So
in other countries, in Russia,
Yep.
they have the Yeti, or what they call the abominable snowman, and in China there's the Yeren. And we've actually had quite a few people in the last few years out of the UK tell us about experiences that they're having. We're even going to have five different people from the UK join our gathering this year, so we look forward to that too, and what they have to share about activity and on your side. So
Yeah, and people can get information by going to www.psychicsasquatch.com. Also sasquatchpeople.com. Those two websites give them a lot of information.
Absolutely, and we'll be linking that information on the screen as we speak, and it'll be coming up throughout the interview as well. So just going back to what you were saying there regarding your psychic experience, when was that, and how did that take place?
That was in the state of Wisconsin. I was working as an assistant director of a Native American First Nations urban agency in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I was invited to go to a farm 60 miles north where a American Indian had purchased this property. And they were a medicine man there and so on to evaluate the property, and I was invited. And there were just about maybe five or six of us. While out there, I started wandering away from the group near the woods, and that's when I heard a voice say, I am a Sasquatch, man, and I'm here watching you. I've been watching you for many years now, longer than you know or understand right now. And he started talking, and I thought, what is going on here? And I looked around, I didn't see anything, and I got nervous, again, not afraid, but trying to decipher where all this is coming from. And I walked out into this field on the side of a hill. And when I did, all of a sudden, a very sophisticated voice said, I am a star person, and I too have been watching you for many years now, longer than you know or understand right now. And I started looking around, and I said to myself, I wonder where he is. And he said, oh, well, right now I'm above you in another dimension, in a UFO, as you people call it. Then I realized, wait a minute, what's going on here? And that's when I decided I would never tell anyone. But it wasn't till 2 days later at night that a voice said to me, wake up, my friend, we are here. And I rolled over in bed, and there were two Sasquatch standing there where I could see through them. I said, gee, they're from another dimension or something here. I didn't. This was September 1979. So they visited me for almost 2 months, off and on, every 2 or 3 or 4 days. And I started to recognize their faces and so forth. And I said, oh, you're back, and so forth. But I didn't know that they were building me up to write a book. They needed someone that they could trust, that had the ability as a professional writer, and that wouldn't back down. I had a personality that would not back down from harassment and being badgered by people who think this is silly stuff. They're discovering stuff all the time in this world, and this is just one of the discoveries. This is not a static planet where everything is just in suspended animation. Everything is moving and evolving, and apparently these are some of the people who are very clandestine that are living in the forest.
Yeah, well, obviously we're just losing your signal a bit here, but that's because you're out in the woods on a satellite internet, and it's just this is and this is you almost make me as one of my my next things on my journey to do in the States is maybe to, when I'm out there, to come see you and do an interview in person as well with a couple of cameras. That'll be interesting. Yeah. Well, we probably will do some of that for the audience, because I know a lot of people watching this. This is interesting stuff, and you guys have been doing this for so long. Now, Kelly, your interest in this subject as well. Where did that start from?
Well, I really the subject interested me, and it found me. It's really started from childhood. I just had a fascination with anything that was, from other realms and things like that. Anything kind of magical. But in 2012. I really went through a spiritual awakening, and just a lot happening to me, like on a soul level, and I started having communication with the Sasquatch and with the ET people too. And like Kewaunee said, it was just hard to process that, and who do you talk to, and you're wondering, like, why is this all of a sudden happening in my life? And so that's how I connected with Kewaunee, as kind of a mentor to help me put these things into perspective, because he's already written about it and everything. So that's how I found him and how my interest started. And then as time evolved, and we met and got together and things, it just really exploded from there. The Sasquatch were very fully supportive of it, and they've been the biggest inspiration into the work that we do together, the books that have been written since we've been together, and the gatherings that we have and everything like that. So it's very much led by our hairy family.
Yes, and we're educating the public and letting them know it's okay to have these experiences. It's okay to talk about it. If the person doesn't like the word psychic and they think it's unscientific, well, it is. It's quantum physics. They need to wake up. It's mainstream, and the application of it, I guess you might say, are the ETs and the Sasquatch people that have that ability to be interdimensional.
And when you was having interdimensional communication with them, they told you before Kelly came into your life that a soulmate was coming into your life, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking.
It's all right.
The Sasquatch told you your soulmate was coming.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that was. Their time is always, they may say it's going to happen soon, and a couple of years went by and nothing happened, but to them soon is soon. It's not next week or something. And then one day they said to me, I'll be meeting my soulmate very soon, and described Kelly and all this stuff. And I said, oh, all right, I guess, I just wait to see what happens. And so I would say, I think it was 5 weeks later, I got a phone call from Kelly, and it all started from there.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And yeah, well, I'm sure, you two coming together as well has only enhanced the work as well, and that you've both grown a lot from it, and the work has grown as well. So, yeah, I'm starting to learn that the hard way. You can't do everything by yourself, right?
Right. Right. It's great to have a wonderful support system, and since then, he's already been in communication with a lot of people around the world that experience these things, but even more so now since we've been together. There's been hundreds of more people that have approached both of us to tell us of their similar experiences, and wanting to learn and wanting to share, all of it. So.
Absolutely. Now, why are they here? What's their purpose of and what's the reason they've got such an interest in us, or do they have an interest in us? And where are they from?
Okay, that's a lot of deep questions there, really. But so they are the first mammal people that were seeded here on Earth, that were created here. So they have been here on Earth for about 200 million years, whereas humanity have been here about 50 million years. So they are much wiser. They've been there, done that a lot longer than we have. And, so a big part of their purpose here on Earth is to be caretakers for the planet, and for all of the consciousness and all life on the planet, because the Earth has had a really long evolutionary period of different phases. When Earth was young, it was mostly all mammal people, or I'm sorry, not mammal people, fish people or mer people. And over time, that evolved into the ant people, and then the lizard people, or the reptoids. And then there were the bird people. And so the Sasquatch were the first mammal people. And like I said later, humanity came as well. So the Sasquatch really are our elder brothers, is what they call themselves. They're our elders, our relatives, because humans are 99% shared blood and DNA with the Sasquatch people. So because they are so evolved, and some are less evolved than others, just like humans, they're very much just like a human kind of race, except that they have much stronger gifts than we do. But they're here to help guide us through our lives here, and to assist us in co-creating a more conscious reality together. Because right now the world, as you know, is not in the best state of affairs. And that's all perpetuated by humans and our brains and our actions and, all of these things that we've done. And so they want to just help us as much as they can in understanding that this is all stemming from a soul level. We're all here on the planet because we have trauma and karma and things that we need to work out. And so, that's why we're here, and that's why they're here, just to help the planet, to help us, and then it goes so much further and deeper than that. But to answer your question also about where are they originally from, they've been created just as we have and many other races by different star races or ET type beings. And so they use DNA from several different star systems. And they also used the DNA from a giant lemur race that was in Lemuria, because when the Sasquatch people were first seated here on Earth, it was in the area of Mu, or Lemuria, where there were some giant lemurs. So they have that DNA crossed with other star systems, which is primarily, but not exclusively, Pleiadian. So they have a lot of Pleiadian DNA, some more than others.
So you can imagine 200 million years ago, they were bioengineered. That's the word they use, bioengineered by friendly ETs. So they've been evolving for 200 million years, but they said they were engineered to live in raw nature, completely in raw nature. So that's why they can. In fact, I asked them, how come you don't wear clothes or skin, animal skins, and so on? And they said, we can control our body temperatures. If it's in the desert, they can stay cooler by their own mind power. If it's freezing cold, again, they can warm up their bodies just by thinking. And this is incredible. I mean, these beings, I've seen them dematerialize 5 times in front of me, and it was kind of startling. But again, they're interdimensional. That's why they haven't, quote unquote, caught one, because you can't. And they know that humans are very aggressive, and that people from the very beginning, when settlers came over in the way in the 1600s, whenever they saw Sasquatch, they would shoot at it, and they wounded several. So all of a sudden, amongst the Sasquatch tribes, they said, hey, there's a group of people that are settling here, and they're violent. Stay away from them. So, they watched us. They observed us, the way we mistreated the First Nations people, the Native Americans, how we mistreated Afro-American people as slaves. It's horrible. And then what they did and how they treated the Chinese when they came over to work the railways. So they observed this, so they know that they're not going to be treated good if they step out. Those that did step out were shot at. So we've created a precedence with them that's why they're staying away from us. But now, because the planet's dying, they're seeking out spiritually minded people, spiritually minded means respect for all living things, and that wouldn't argue with their neighbor or get into a fist fight with somebody. They would try to resolve it in a peaceful way. Somehow, people who live that and think that way raise their vibrational frequencies, which the Sasquatch can tell immediately, and they try to make that connection with that person. So this is important to them because they want to save the planet, and there's just another avenue of them working, with people. And they've come out in Australia and many other places, people.
So are they technically advanced as well, or are they? Because you mentioned there's a connection. Obviously, they're genetically or were genetically engineered in a sense by some other race. But if they're interdimensional, is that a natural ability they have, and it's not technology, or where is that technology, and where's that come from? And are they technologically advanced as well?
Yeah, no, it's not really a technology unless you want to consider it a consciousness technology. So it has nothing to do with machines of any sort. But it is something that they have to learn how to do. It's a natural gift that they have, but they also have to be taught how to master those gifts too. So, that's also why you never really hear of encounters or anybody seeing very young ones, because they're staying in the family unit very closely while they're learning how to master their abilities. But they are born with much more psychic abilities and gifts than humans realize that we have. We can do it too. We just have to unlearn everything that we've learned in order to get that back. But the way that they are able to be interdimensional or travel between different dimensions is all based on frequency and vibration. They're able to change their frequency and their vibration so that basically they're still there, but it's like they're on a different radio frequency, on a different wavelength than what we're tuning into. So all these things are happening right in front of us, right among us, but many humans don't have the capacity to tune into that.
Okay, but are they in contact with other races? Do other races visit them, do you think? Have they telepathically told you that?
Yes, they're a member of an alliance of beings. It sounds, our lives are like a science fiction movie in a way, but this is all real. But it's almost like Star Trek, where they have a big meeting and all the different races that look different than us. Periodically, they have that and make decisions together. So the Sasquatch, though they're very independent as a people, they also are conform because they're getting support from these other ETs. There is a good versus the bad going on apparently on the planet, and that some evil or negative ETs have given governments a certain technology, a limited amount, and that they're using. Excuse me. So, the point is here that they are working together to try to find peace here on Earth. And there are some negative ETs out there. There's a good, bad, and the indifferent everywhere in the universe, apparently. So they're trying to overcome all that without developing any or taking on any negative karma. They did way back in the early 1980s, the ETs and the Sasquatch would talk about the importance of karma. That be very cautious in what you do and what you're creating, because it does come back to rebalance itself. So apparently it's some kind of universal law that's out there and that we're plugged into, but most people aren't aware or don't want to believe it. So they said, no, it's very real.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fascinating. Thank you so much for that. So many questions in my head right now. I'm like, oh my God, where do we go with this? This is so fascinating. do both of you have the ability to communicate with them, or is it just one of you? And if you both do, how did you develop that ability? How did you fine tune it?
Yes, we do both have that ability, and we know hundreds of others that do as well. And, because they've found us through our work and connected with us, and it's really different for everybody. You can say that, there's particular guidelines to follow, but everybody's connection is a little bit different, or the way that it comes about. Because some people, like as far as telepathy, sometimes people will hear a voice in their head, somebody else's voice. A lot of times people will hear their own voice in their head, but they recognize that it's not their thoughts, or they'll even be hearing words come through that's not part of their vocabulary, not part of their language. So they're, wondering, well, this isn't my own thought. A lot of times, most of the time, it's a feeling, and it's just something that you can sense. How, when the air changes, or, different things that you can't quite explain or express, that you can feel a change. You can feel an energy and feel an aura. And so that's how it is with me and with him and with a lot of people quite often. Is just you're aware of their presence, and a lot of times through your third eye, you're able to visualize them perfectly. You can see them standing in front of you and see every detail, the color of their hair, the shape of their nose, the wrinkles on their fingers, and you can see every little detail. But that's not always the case. So it's really very different for everybody. But the best advice that we can really give for somebody who's wanting to connect with the Sasquatch is to not be fearful, to not allow yourself to feel this fearfulness of what's going to happen, and just be open-minded and open-hearted, and understand that we're connected to everything, that there's nothing to be fearful of. And so that's kind of the biggest obstacle that most people have, is you're just naturally your instinct is to feel fearful when there's something that you don't understand. That's just human nature. But that's what we want to try to train out of ourselves, and that's what we want to try to rebalance, is all of those emotions and instincts that we might naturally have, and to consciously make a change from that pattern.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. And Kewaunee, with yourself then, I mean, are you able to tune in at any time?
Tune in at any time? Yes. We moved into the wilderness here about 9 months ago maybe now. And in lifting, I already had a serious back problem from my younger days, and that would act up and cripple me up for several weeks sometimes. And but I was lifting, of course, moving, and we had help and everything, but I did hurt my back. And I'm a master herbalist, so I have stuff for pain that works real well, but at night it would wear off as you're sleeping, and I'd wake up in pain. And this happened for about 3 days in a row, and as I was taking stuff, trying to get a good night's sleep, which I could not. So I thought, oh, well, I'll telepath to the Sasquatch here. Now, there's 8 of them here up on the mountain, and first 5 days that we were here unpacking, the elder leader came into the kitchen. I could not see him, but he greeted us here and everything. So I telepathed to him and told him that I had my back was hurting and I couldn't function. And first night, I woke up in the morning, nothing. I was still in pain. So I did it the second. Generally, I don't know why, but it takes 2 days unless it's an emergency. But I did the second night, I telepathed to them, and woke up the next morning completely pain-free. And I don't know, whenever they come, I don't know. But other than whatever's problem you have that we ask, it's gone. I mean, it's gone. So they have this ability. Last summer, our son, he's 9 now, he was 8 years old, and Kelly was in the kitchen. We had the stove on. I guess you just shut it down, and when our son walked into the kitchen, he said, "Oh, stay away from the stove. You know, it's real hot, especially right there." And he sort of challenged Kelly and put his hand on there, and he went screaming through the house around in circles with some skin hanging off the tips of his fingers. I mean, it was horrible to see. I was almost in tears myself because to see this. And eventually I put some ice in a Ziploc bag and sat him down because he was running in circles screaming. And he put that on, and it gave him a little bit of relief. So I said to Kelly, well, he won't be going to school for several days. We'll take him to the doctor in the morning. This could get infected easily. It's very severe. So Kelly put antibiotic cream on it and wrapped it real good, and we sent him to bed. Well, I said to Kelly, well, he won't be going to school for several days because he's on the ground a lot touching, and he could get infected easily. So she agreed, yeah, we'll take him to the doctor first thing in the morning. So when I went to bed, I telepathed to the Sasquatch people, asking them to help our son. Now, I just wanted, thinking in terms of just take the pain away so he can function. But this is what happens. Whenever we get him up for school, he's kind of zombied out. It's hard to wake him up, and he's very slow at getting going. So we always have to keep going back into his bedroom. Well, I'm sleeping still, and I hear my wife talking, and Kelly's saying, hey, what are you doing up? Our son came in our bedroom. He says, I'm getting ready for school. She's for school? No, we're going to head for the doctor. She was going to say doctor, and then I heard her say, hey, where's the bandages on your hand? And he picked up his hand and started hitting the tips of his fingers. He said, it's gone. I'm fine. I'm going to go to school. I rolled over and said, stop doing that, you know. Well, when I looked, there wasn't anything there, just a tiny bit of redness or something, but it was completely healed, basically, 95% healed. We couldn't believe it overnight. So this shows you the power, the abilities of these beings to help us when we want to. They can heal cancer, too.
That's an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, and has that? I mean, have you used them since to do any other healings, or was that the one time that it came through that way?
That's just one of the more recent times. They've helped us in so many ways. So many of the people that we're connected to have just amazing stories. But yeah, they've helped in many ways. Helped people to heal from cancer. I also have chronic pain, back issues, and I've asked for help before, and also just woke up without any pain in the morning. Or I remember one time, this is a cute, short, funny one. I was at a job, and I was so sick. I had this really horrible sinus infection. I had already missed 2 days of work, and I couldn't miss anymore, so I just went to work sick and not able to breathe, all of this stuff. And so my coworkers can hear me suffering over here, constantly blowing my nose, and I sound all stuffy. And then I just forgot it because I was so sick, and I didn't think to ask for help. And so while I was there at work, I was like, light bulb went off, and I said, guys, I was like, I've been suffering for so long. Could you please help me? Please help me to heal or take away some of these symptoms so that I'm not suffering and can get through my day. And within seconds, the room filled with this stinky skunk odor. I mean, it smelled like skunk, and everybody could smell it. Everybody's commenting, what, did a skunk come in here? Or what is that smell? And stuff like that. And I just, I'm just kind of like chuckling to myself, like, is this really happening? Is everybody else experiencing this too? And literally within a few minutes, I could breathe. my airways opened up. I could breathe. I stopped snotting and everything. My head cleared so that I was able to go, finish through the day. And so it wasn't just me experiencing that. I mean, everybody else in the room could see that too. Of course, I couldn't explain, oh yeah, the Sasquatch just came in here and did that. I just agreed, sure, it was a Sudafed, Yeah.
One dramatic healing that I had was back in 1986. I had injured my back as a young man, and here, one day it just snapped, and I couldn't walk, and the pain was excruciating. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst pain, mine was sort of a 10.5. It was horrible. I had to just lay in bed. I couldn't hardly move. I was in a wheelchair. And every doctor I went to said, this is the worst case of a ruptured disc I've ever seen. You need major surgery. Well, in 86, they were doing a lot of experimental back surgery, and I didn't want any part of it because it was a crapshoot. You might make it, or you might end up crippled again. So I told the doctor no, and he said, the last doctor, which was a neurosurgeon, said, I'll give you some painkillers for 10 days, but I guarantee you, after that, you'll be in here begging me for surgery, because I told him I didn't want surgery. He said, that's the only option, or you may never walk again. Well, here I am, backpacking, and I backpacked around the world, as a matter of fact, early on and back in the late 60s, to over 40 countries. So I was always strong and athletic and so on, and here I couldn't walk. This really was scary for me. So I went home, and I was thinking what to do. I don't know what to do. Who do I go to? This kind of thing. And strange as it was, living in a cabin in the Oregon Cascades in the foothills, and I was on a UFO flight line. Now, I'd see spaceships about twice a week if I stay outside on my porch looking, and they were fairly close. Some were very close. So I thought, maybe they will help me. I took a chance, and I telepathed, visualizing a ship, a flying saucer kind of thing, and asked, would you please come and help me? Well, I did this for 2 days, and neighbors and friends were coming, bringing food, doing my laundry. I was totally disabled. And so I just, when I went to bed that night, I shut the light off, and I heard scrambling around, and I looked around as best I could, and there were these little 3.5 to 4 foot tall beings, 3 of them, and they said, we have come to heal you. And I said, well, thank you, come ahead. And I lay back, and they put me out. I was only getting 4 hours sleep a night, roughly, and it wasn't very sound sleep because the pain was that intense. And I heard some strange noise in my head, and I opened my eyes, and there was one behind me, one here, and one to the side, working on me with some kind of a cylindrical object. And I looked up at him. I said, it's only you guys, I said, I love you. I mean, what do you say to beings that are healing you? So the next morning, I woke up 10.5 hours later, completely rested, 0 pain. I sat at the edge of the bed 15 or 20 minutes without getting up, giggling, thinking back, and still in disbelief what had happened. And I got up and walked to the bathroom. I was walking. Well, a couple of weeks later, I was going to visit a friend on a ranch. He had a big 1,000-acre ranch, and I visited him about every month or two. And I stay for a couple of days, and then I come back. Well, I needed some money. I forgot. What?
Jerry just left the house.
I had just needed to run to the bank to get some money. And back then, they didn't have ATM machines and stuff. So I quickly drove into town on a Friday evening. The banks closed at 5, and it was 7 minutes to 5 when I parked the car. So I went running up the street to the bank, and I got to the corner, and the bank's right across the street. When I looked to my left, there's one of the doctors that said I'd probably never walk again. And he's walking over to me, his eyes as big as golf balls, looking at me, and he kept rubbing his bald head like this, pointing to my feet, and his mouth was moving, but nothing was coming out. And I said, "Have a nice day, doctor," and I jogged across the street while he stood there looking at me incredulously. So these are some of the things that I'll never forget because it's changed my life. I had a new, more quality of life.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, one thing that keeps coming into my head as well, and thank you for sharing that story, is what are some of the, I want to say, spiritual teachings of these beings, but maybe some of the, maybe a term, the sort of the philosophy of these beings as well?
Well, there's really so much of that as well, you know, but they do want us to understand our own multi-dimensional nature, to understand that, you know, we control our consciousness and our reality, you know, and that they wish for us to just treat each other with more kindness and respect and honor, and to co-create the reality that we wish to see together. You know, a lot of their teachings and their, I guess you'd say, spirituality is very much in alignment with Native American culture and spirituality, because it's very much the same, the respect and honor for all life and for the earth, caring for the earth, and things like that. So they talk a lot about natural things, even help him, you know, as a master herbalist, to help them, or they help him to, you know, offer the right herbs for people to heal, or the right kind of practices. And lots of things are energetic type practices. So it really goes so deep, and it's hard to really narrow down one thing. But it's very much in alignment with what you would think of as Native American prophecy and culture.
Yes. And what would you say then is the future of your work then for both of you? What is the future of this work?
Well, just to, you know, continue to share this message, and to help bring people together, and to bridge the gap between these two, actually there's more than two, but all these major thoughts of thinking surrounding the Sasquatch, and surrounding, you know, our whole reality of everything in the world. You know, but what they've said to us is that a bridge has been built between the two realms. And so they call the two of us, and many other people, you know, that work with them, they call us ambassadors. Or also say that we are part of an alliance as well, and helping to bring people together. So, you know, everybody has free will and choice. It's not like we're dragging these people by the hand and saying, "Here, come follow me, and you need to be here," kind of thing. But we're just putting the information out there, and people resonate with it, and they find it. They're soul searching, and they come across this information, and it resonates with them, and they just know that they're a part of it. And so each person that joins this circle, if you want to call it, or you know, understands this same wavelength of consciousness, they're also doing the same thing. So it's not just Kewaunee and I. It keeps growing. It keeps expanding. More and more people are coming to understand these truths, and so they're sharing it in their own unique way, either through their creative outlets or whatever they do. You know, but we just want to help people in the best way that we can, and that's what it boils down to, is helping others to heal, or like I say, also helping to walk each other home. You know?
Yeah, we're just interested in educating the public. I'd like to just read a short quote that's in one of my books, Sasquatch People and Their Interdimensional Connection, to kind of put a cap on what the Sasquatch are doing, because it's very similar here. A Zen monk once said, and I quote, All life in nature has a spiritual dimension and is sacred. When we honor other creatures as we do ourselves, we all evolve another step, end quote. So that's really what one of the things they want. And you think, I'm a social scientist. I came from a Darwinian base and everything, but they said most of the evolution is really through the mind and not so much just the body. So again, their spiritual nature, meaning respect for all living things. So we're apparently in England, there's a lot of people having experiences, but not talking about it because it's so off the wall, so odd. But they are. I lived in England for a year and a half in Harrogate, Yorkshire, and back 1965 and 66, and I climbed the two highest mountains, Ben Nevis in the Scottish Highlands, and Mount Snowdon in Wales while I was there on one of my weekend breaks. But when I climbed Ben Nevis, at the very top was a thick fog, super thick. I've never seen anything like that, and about 3 inches of snow, 2 to 3 inches of snow, just that one little bit. And this was the first week of November, 1965. And when I stepped into the fog, there was a Sasquatch there. And I make believe it didn't happen because to me, it didn't belong there. And so I buried it. The mind does that. And it wasn't until 1990 that I read an article in a magazine saying the big gray man of Scotland. And in it, it described exactly what happened to me. And I said, oh my God, I buried it. It's not supposed to be there, so it didn't happen. And I thought, I'm not that very open, and yet that was so odd that I did that. And here, so a couple of people told me they were camping, these were Scottish people, and that they had a Sasquatch experience somewhere in the forest up there. I've seen some beautiful forests. I've been to Scotland twice, and there's enough there and enough salmon coming in from the ocean up the rivers to feed a Sasquatch family.
Yeah. And again, you know, go ahead, please.
They go out of port a lot and are able to evade us there. And when you get some odd being that looks different, where did this thing come from? Well, it was visiting from a portal, came through the door, spent some time here, maybe exploited the area, got some food or something, and we happened to run into it.
I wonder what the reality of where these beings go to, if they're interdimensional, what the dimension is like where they go to. Is it much like this, or is it different? You know, is it very different?
I've never been there myself. Actually, they've taken me there, but they took me back to the same time and place, so I couldn't remember anything. And they did that deliberately because they said, if we tell you everything and we show you everything to make your life easy, you're down here to take on the challenges to resolve karmic issues. If we told you everything to avoid this, avoid that, to make your life real rosy and so nothing happens, then my karma becomes their karma, they said. They told me this. So...
yeah, and the way they've kind of described the other dimensions is that it's more of a state of consciousness than it is a place. So it's not so much what you see, you feel. It's a difference in the whole feeling and the way that you perceive everything. Reality is much different in a higher dimension than what it is here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, listen. I know that there's so much more we could talk about right now. I know we're out of time right now, and I just want you to just give us your website one more time for those listening on a podcast. It is.
First of all, we're having a what was it?
The information about our conference and everything, our books can be found at www.sightings, psychicsasquatch.com. And we also have sasquatchpeople.com. It's more of a blog style, so you'll find more information at psychicsasquatch.com.
Excellent. And when is your next conference? Yeah, when is your next conference?
It's on Labor Day weekend. I've got a little thingy right here, actually, so you can see that. So Labor Day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, August 30th through September 1st in Chewelah,
Wonderful.
Washington, up at a beautiful wilderness center. So, yeah.
Yes,
oh, that'll be
more
great.
Books out also.
Right, okay.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Humanity books 1, 2, and 3 we also have that people would probably be interested in.
Yeah, sorry, there's a delay there.
Yeah, that's okay. There is a bit of a delay. Well, listen, I know that the quality has not been great on this interview, but I think it was the content that mattered. And I know our paths, will cross, and we'll do something in person at some point, and we'll dive deep again with the information. So, guys, I just want to say thank you both so very much for joining me today.
Yes, well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
It's been a pleasure.